Hey everybody, it's Jackie Lee at TCGplayer.com, and it's time for another THS.Draft.4 draft. So we have a lot of very powerful cards in this pack. Tormented Hero and Timoret are both pulling us towards the aggro red-black strategy that I admittedly haven't drafted a ton of. We've got Disciple of Phoenix in the mono-black type strategy, but it's not exactly a first pick. Sea God's Revenge is incredibly powerful, especially in an archetype like green-blue. And we also have Observant Alseid and Divine Verdict as the good white cards in the pack. I don't think that... the cards that I would want to take out of this pack are either Timoret or Sea God's Revenge. Sea God's Revenge doesn't put us into two colors. So I think I'm actually going to take Sea God's Revenge for that reason. I think Timoret is a really powerful card, very good, but it also just solidifies our draft from pick one, and that's not something I like doing in Theros. Our second pick here, it looks like we're getting past a Fabled Hero. And I'm perfectly cool taking that. I don't know why the guy who passed me this didn't want to. Not exactly sure what common he could have taken over it, but yep, I mean, I think that's just the pick. For powerful cards in this pack, we have red and green emissaries, both very powerful. In black, we have a Sip of Hemlock, and in white, we have Hopeful Eidolon. I think I definitely just take the Hopeful Eidolon here. I think that if this is not the best common in white, it's vying for the spot, and it works extremely well with Fabled Hero. Get a 4/4 double striking life linker just by bestowing this guy onto Fabled Hero. So I don't really know how you can really argue for or against that more than just stating what it does, because that's crazy. So I'm gonna take the Eidolon and just note that I'm passing these cards, I guess. Good cards in this pack include Snarecaster, Coastline Chimera is okay, Boon of Erebos, and then we have Chosen by Heliod and Nelia's Presence, which are both very good. In the white deck, I tend to really like having Leonin Snarecasters. They can just kind of randomly win you the game if you've assembled something with your white heroic cards. Chosen by Heliod, on the other hand, is one of the cards that enables heroic. So I think at this stage I'm just going to take the Snarecaster. There's lots of stuff that enables heroic, and a lot of those are bestow creatures, so I don't think that you necessarily want to be taking Chosen of Heliod over a very good 2-drop like Leonin Snarecaster this early in the draft. So that brings us to Observant Alseid, which is that bestow creature that I had just mentioned. On the other hand, it's in the pack with Triton Fortune Hunter, which is another excellent heroic target. So I think I'm going to take the Fortune Hunter here, although the Observant Alseid is an excellent card. The card advantage that you can get from Triton Fortune Hunter is just very good, and we're also already kind of in blue because of the Sea God's Revenge. If the Fortune Hunter weren't here, I would just be taking the Observant Alseid, no question. But I think that the upside of this guy is too high to kind of just throw away my chances at drafting blue this early. So now we have Unknown Shores, Glare of Heresy, Destructive Revelry is a great card that we're clearly not going to play, and Boon of Erebos. So I think I'm going to take Glare as a potential sideboard card. I feel pretty confident that I'm drafting white, although the Boon of Erebos would be good if I ended up in black, but I'm not sure that either one of these would really make or break the draft, so I'm just going to pick the card that I'm already in that color. So we've got another Leonin Snarecaster, a Fate Foretold, and an Opaline Unicorn. I'm not sure which one I really want to take here. There's also Vanquish the Foul, but I don't think that I want to be drafting another 6-drop that doesn't target my own creatures in this deck. Let's see, I only have one card which targets my creatures, so it's going to either be Snarecaster or Fate Foretold, and I think at this point it's Fate Foretold. I think I'm just going to probably be blue-white, and that's fine. Fate Foretold is a powerful targeting enchantment, so at this point we don't have a ton. Probably the card that I would like to play against the least is Flamespeaker Adept. This is probably the most powerful card in the pack, so I'm just going to take that. I don't foresee blue-green really wanting a Fleet Feather Sandals, especially this early in the draft. And I'm surprised that Timoret is still in this pack. But we cannot possibly play him, so it's either going to be Fate Foretold number 2 or Scholar of Athreos. If we end up being black, this is it's a really good card. People tend to think that it's kind of like chaff, but it is exceptionally good against control decks. I think I'm going to take the Fate Foretold for now. I think that leaves us with the most options. And a Last Breath is good. We can target our heroic creatures with it. It's interesting because in this format, I don't think that Lightning Strike is significantly better than this card. And there are actually situations in which Last Breath is better than Lightning Strike. It seems as though we may be getting cut on white at this point. Between Triton, Shore Thief, Rescue from the Underworld, and Bronze Sable, all these very unexciting prospects, I think we just want the Triton Shore Thief in case we end up getting a bunch of ordeals. And white usually doesn't have a problem with 2-drops, so Coastline Chimera is actually a pretty decent card. I'm surprised that it's still in the pack, but, you know, I guess the same could kind of be said of Flesh Mad Steed, so alright, we've got a Phalanx Leader, which is very good in a deck like this. A Shipwreck Singer, which is also very good but requires we play black. Nimbus Naiad, which is good and doesn't require that we play a new color. And Ordeal of Perforos. This is almost certainly not the deck which would want to play Ordeal of Perforos. So I think the choice is between Phalanx Leader and Nimbus Naiad. The Phalanx Leader is nice. It's a heroic creature which has the possible advantage of buffing your entire team. The Nimbus Naiad, on the other hand, is just an exceptional bestow creature. So if we target our Fabled Hero, that's just absurd. If we target our Triton Fortune Hunter, it's very good, and it replaces itself immediately. But the Phalanx Leader has a very high potential upside. I think I'm actually just going to go with the Nimbus Naiad. Don't feel like Phalanx Leader is necessarily where I want to be, whereas this is just a versatile creature that can do a number of different things at different points in the game. Our choices here are Burnished Heart, and then we have Laguna Band Elder and Wave Crash Triton. Wave Crash Triton is very good, but I think the card I'm going to pick here is God's Willing. Having one of these makes the deck incredibly difficult to play around, and sometimes your opponent has no choice but to just play into this card, and its ability to also target your heroic creatures makes it incredibly versatile, so I'm just going to take the God's Willing here. Having the cheap ability to protect your creature is just excellent. Oh, this is a tough pack. We've got Hopeful Eidolon, Ordeal of Thassa, Red Ordeal, and then we also have Ray of Dissolution, which is a great spell in this format. This is fairly difficult. I'm trying to decide between these three cards. They all seem very good. I think I'm not going to take Ordeal of Thassa because it's the most easily disrupted. And it's going to be either Hopeful Eidolon or Ray of Dissolution. I think it's the Hopeful Eidolon, because it can also target our creatures. We have a number of heroic creatures. At this point, we've got Battle-Wise Valor, Benthic Giant, Opaline Unicorn. We're a little short on creatures, which is unfortunate. I think that the Opaline Unicorn is going to be the pick. We really want more creatures, and being able to accelerate into being able to bestow all of the blue and white creatures, I think, is good. At this point, I think Vaporkin is the pick. Just a solid 2-drop that starts applying pressure to the opponent. One problem that I've had in this format is focusing too much on the late game and not enough on just very solid sources of damage in the early game like Vaporkin, so I think it's very possible that, you know, we could have been black in this draft with a reasonable outcome, but we didn't really get a lot of the devotion creatures in black either, so I'm not sure how great that would have been. I think it's between the Elder, Horizon Scholar, and Anvil Rot Raptor. I'm gonna go with the Horizon Scholar just because it's kind of highest impact. There are also a lot of staunch-hearted warriors in this draft. Greens could certainly have been one of our other colors, but I'm not sure that we were getting cut hard enough on white to really move out of it. The color is pretty deep, so I think the choice is Stymied Hopes or Coastline Chimera, and I think I want the Coastline Chimera. Just a very solid blocker. Stymies kind of slows down your opponent and then allows you to do whatever silly thing you're trying to set up. Not really a huge fan of either Fate Foretold number 3 or Swan Song, but I suppose it's pretty possible that we would want to play either one. I've actually really liked Swan Song in the board, and I don't think that I would really want to play 3 Fate Foretold, so I think I will take the Swan Song. At this point, the Shipwreck Singer in the pack is just too crazy. I'm just gonna take it. There's literally nothing here for me, except for that. And hey, maybe I can just play Esper and Splash Black. That's not absurd either. In that case, this is a pretty close pick. I could also just splash white for for the Hopeful Eidolons and the God's Willing, maybe. But we here have the Ray of Dissolution, and I will just snap that off. Unknown Shores is very good, especially if we're considering splashing a third color. And I suppose we'll just kind of take these garbagey cards because we have to. You can't fail to find out of a pack that you're drafting from, unfortunately. Or I suppose it is fortunately, because that could just lead to a lot of problems. So here we've got Triton Tactics, which is an excellent card for this deck. Ordeal of Thassa, Ray of Dissolution. There's another unicorn. We're a little short on creatures, which could be a problem. I think I'm actually going to take Triton Tactics because it protects our creatures against a lot of, a lot of removal they could be vulnerable against, and it also allows us to target our heroic creatures. At this point in the draft, I'm kind of wishing that I did take the Phalanx Leader. That would have given me another creature to play with heroic, but I kind of wasn't expecting the draft to go quite this way. Regardless, I'm going to take the Triton Tactics here. Now we have all these things that we want to take, which are still not creatures. And that's a problem. There's Dauntless Onslaught. It's actually not very good in this deck. Laguna Band Elder, Ray of Dissolution number 2, which will probably just table to us. That's kind of really it for blue-white. There's not even a black card we can take here. It's pretty awkward, but we really actually just need creatures. I think I'm going to take... Yeah, I'm actually just going to take the Ray of Dissolution. I just found it to be a very powerful card. We have Voyage's End. There's a Keepsake Gorgon here, which is kind of horrifying, but there's not much we can do about that. And Voyage's End is an excellent card in this format, so I think I'm just going to go with the Voyage's End. So now we've got the choice between a couple beefy blue creatures, an Omen Speaker to fill out our curve, and a Divine Verdict. I think Divine Verdict is excellent for the same reasons that Voyage's End is, so I'm going to take the Divine Verdict. choice here is between Curse of the Swine, maybe Yoked Ox, maybe Annul, maybe Splash Lash of the Whip, but I doubt it because we have a bunch of pretty decent removal at this point. Curse of the Swine is kind of expensive. Could it actually just be Yoked Ox? I think I am going to take the Yoked Ox. And I think that that's probably incorrect, but I did it, and that's fine. I just really wanted to make sure I got enough creatures, and Curse of the Swine is actually kind of awkward how it plays out because it's a sorcery. If I don't have creatures that can even kill 2/2s, then I mean, it's still not removal, it's just possibly slowing down the opponent somewhat. So at this point, the choice is between Mnemonic Wall and Baleful Eidolon, and I think I'm going to take the Mnemonic Wall. I have a lot of pretty effective spells that I think that I just want to get back. Now I have the choice between taking a Benthic Giant, a Griffin, a Wall, or maybe just Baleful Eidolon as my third color. I think Baleful Eidolon is the pick. It's very powerful, and well, that looks like another Ray of Dissolution. Apparently people just don't value this card as highly as I do, which would affect my pick orders when drafting with those people, I guess, but probably don't want a third Coastline Chimera, so we're going to either take a third Ray, a second Mnemonic Wall, I think we want to have the second Wall. And we have either a third Ray or Guardians of Meletis, which is a very reasonable blocker. We're pretty light on creatures, but we do have some walls, so maybe we don't need this creature. And I'll just take the Ray of Dissolution. I suppose I'll take the Bronze Sable, in case that is what I want to be doing. It might well be. And I'll take a second Yoked Ox. Horizon Scholar is a good top end for this deck, and then Annul is a good sideboard option. So I don't think that this is exactly how I would have wanted the draft to go, but I don't think that it is crazy unable to be salvaged either. So let me just put down everything I think I might play, and we'll see. That's certainly going to be too many 5 and 6 drops, but I want to just kind of see. Oh, not Glare of Heresy. It ends up being very easy getting too many playables in this format, so that's a good thing for when you're deck building. So for example, maybe I just shouldn't splash these black cards because I don't need to. That could very well end up being correct. So we got like 15 real creatures here, but we have to cut 4 cards. We could easily cut Shipwreck Singer, Baleful Eidolon, and Traveler's Amulet. And Shipwreck Singer is... I don't think it's really what this deck wants to be doing at all. I don't have the return phalanxes to crash their creatures into. So I don't think that's really just going to be very effective at all. I think I'm just going to cut down to, let's see, at least just this guy. But I might not want to play it at all. Yeah, I think I just cut my black. I don't think that there's any reason for me to get particularly greedy with it. Probably want to cut a null, because this is a lot of non-creature spells. And really, why would I play a null when I could just play another Ray of Dissolution? It's another question I could be asking myself. So we got 6 spells that Mnemonic Wall can get back. And we could play a second Ray of Dissolution, which I don't think is the craziest thing ever. But I think for just a main deck, this is pretty reasonable. I have quite a lot of 6-drops, which is not exceptionally good. But this does look like a deck that might be able to take it to the kind of long game. Trying to figure out if I want to play the second Ray of Dissolution, maybe cut one of these Mnemonic Walls or Horizon Scholars. I really have a lot of walls. I think a Mnemonic Wall is pretty slow, so maybe I'm just going to play the second Ray of Dissolution over one Mnemonic Wall. Alternatively, I could play a Yoke Dox to have more early game. I think that would be pretty reasonable as well. But I think that this is okay for a main deck, and I'll just go with this for now. I think that this is fine. I have more blue spells, so even though I have this 1-drop and this double white guy, I don't think it's crazy imperative that I get more than 2 white ever. It's true that these guys have a white activation, but I think it's pretty marginal. I could really see it going either way. I think I'm actually just going to play another Plains, because I really want to make sure that I get this guy down on turn 3, or that I get him down and have God's Willing back up. And I'm never really going to want more than 1 blue ever, so